The Sunshine State is burning, not with heat, but under the crushing weight of its own housing bubble. What was once America's hottest real estate paradise has turned into a slow-motion collapse. Across Florida, home prices are plunging by tens of thousands. Inventory is exploding, and desperate sellers who once hosted bidding wars on their lawns are now cutting deals that would have been unimaginable just 2 years ago. Families are being crushed under $8,000 insurance bills, $3,000 mortgages, and suffocating HOA fees. Many are walking away, leaving behind freshly painted dream homes that now feel like financial traps. Analysts warn that 2026 could bring the second great Florida collapse, a correction so steep it could erase billions in homeowner equity. The Sunshine State's dream homes are becoming the nation's most shocking real estate nightmare. This is Discover the Nation, and today we count down the 10 Florida cities where the housing market is crashing hard in 2026. Stay with us, because by number 1, you'll see why Florida's paradise may never be the same again.
Number 10. Manatee County. Florida's housing market is already splintering, and Manatee County stands out as one of the first to crack. Once a symbol of Gulf Coast growth, this region has turned from a builder's dream to an economist's warning sign. Since 2022, the median home price has fallen from $525,000 to just $480,000, a drop of nearly 9%. And experts say the slide could accelerate through 2026. Inventory has ballooned more than 65% in a single year, flooding the market with unsold homes. Bidding wars that used to end in hours now stretch for months. The average home sits 74 days on the market, and 40% of listings have slashed their asking prices, some by tens of thousands. For local families, the math is unbearable. Insurance premiums have doubled in many coastal neighborhoods, jumping from $3,000 to $8,000 or more per year. HOA fees top $400 monthly in many subdivisions. For households earning the county's median income of $63,000, total housing costs above $4,000 a month are unsustainable. Investors who once flooded Bradenton and the Gulf Coast during the boom are now fleeing, dumping vacation rentals and leaving entire neighborhoods littered with for sale signs. Construction, once a local economic engine, has collapsed. New building permits are down nearly 30% year over year as developers brace for a long freeze. Add in 7% mortgage rates, rising storm risk, and tightening flood zone lending standards, and you get a county trapped in a vicious cycle of falling demand and soaring costs. Analysts warn Manatee could lose another 10 to 15% in value by late 2026, wiping out billions in equity. What was once a coastal paradise has become Florida's first warning shot, proof that the dream home can turn into a debt trap overnight.
Number 9. Ocala. Deep in the heart of Central Florida, Ocala, the so-called affordable refuge, is unraveling faster than anyone expected. This was once the escape route from coastal chaos, where retirees and first-time buyers came for land, calm, and low costs. But by 2025, the bubble burst. The median home price plunged from $315,000 in 2022 to about $285,000 in 2025, a staggering 10% decline. Inventory is at its highest level in a decade, up 70% year over year. Homes now sit on the market for 85 days or longer, and new subdivisions on Ocala's outskirts are turning into ghost developments. The economics simply don't work. Median household income is just $54,000, while the cost of owning a $285,000 home at 7% interest exceeds $2,300 a month, not counting insurance that now averages $3,500 per year. Even inland, those premiums are rising fast. Investors who bought in bulk during the pandemic boom are running for the exits, discounting homes by $20,000 to $40,000 just to offload inventory. Even the rental market, once Ocala's safety net, is cracking.
Rents hover near $1,700, but vacancies are climbing as tenants consolidate or leave the state entirely. New construction, once Ocala's pride, has backfired. Building permits are down 25%, and half-finished projects dot Marion County. Retirees on fixed incomes are the most vulnerable. Property taxes near $3,000 a year and surging utility bills are pushing many to sell, swelling inventory further. Analysts predict Ocala could face another 12 to 18% drop by 2026, cementing its status as one of Florida's most fragile markets. For thousands who thought they'd found the perfect inland haven, Ocala has become a hard lesson that no corner of Florida is safe from the storm.
Number 8. Naples. Naples, the crown jewel of Florida's wealth, is finally cracking under the weight of its own luxury. For years, this glittering Gulf Coast enclave was untouchable, where millionaires parked yachts, investors bought vacation homes sight unseen, and bidding wars erupted over ocean views. But by 2026, even paradise isn't immune. Home prices that once averaged $850,000 have slipped to $740,000, a staggering loss in one of the nation's richest housing markets. High-end properties in Pelican Bay and Old Naples are slashing asking prices by hundreds of thousands of dollars, while mid-range homes in Golden Gate and North Naples are down 18% year over year. Inventory has doubled, and luxury listings now linger for more than 120 days, unheard of just 2 years ago. Insurance is the new equalizer. Premiums topping $15,000 per year have turned multi-million-dollar estates into money pits. Flood zones have expanded, HOA fees have ballooned, and even cash-rich retirees are quietly unloading properties before the next storm season. Developers, once unstoppable, have frozen new waterfront projects as costs skyrocket and buyer confidence evaporates. The rental and short-term market, once booming, has collapsed under new regulations and declining tourism. Airbnb hosts, who once charged $500 a night, are now offering steep discounts to fill empty calendars. Investors are exiting in waves, liquidating at losses once thought impossible in this city of endless affluence. Analysts warn Naples could lose another 15 to 20% in value by 2026. The city that once symbolized Florida's luxury dream now stands as its harshest reality check. Proof that even the wealthiest enclaves can crumble when the foundation beneath them is sand.
Number 7. Fort Myers. Fort Myers, once the pandemic's poster child for easy wealth, has now become ground zero for Florida's housing collapse. In 2022, homes peaked near $430,000. By 2025, that number has plummeted to $370,000, a brutal 14% decline in just 3 years. Inventory has exploded by 90%, with half of all listings showing multiple price cuts, some slashed by $50,000 or more. Local incomes haven't come close to keeping up. With a median household income of $62,000, even a $370,000 home at 7% interest demands $2,700 per month before insurance or taxes. And insurance here is catastrophic, $8,000 to $12,000 a year in hurricane-prone zones, a cost few middle-class families can stomach. Add $350 in HOA dues, and total housing expenses exceed $4,000 monthly. For many, it's financial suffocation. The rental market offers no relief. Average rent near $2,200 is now too high for locals, but too low for investors to profit, leaving an awkward stalemate where vacancies quietly rise. Builders who once couldn't keep up with demand are freezing projects altogether. Construction activity has plunged 40%. Investors who once swore Fort Myers would be crash-proof have vanished, replaced by cautious lenders and hesitant buyers. After Hurricane Ian, flood insurance premiums soared overnight, adding thousands more to annual costs and driving some homeowners to default. Now, analysts warn of another 15 to 20% drop by 2026. What was once a Gulf Coast paradise of sunshine and opportunity is turning into a graveyard of overbuilt, overpriced dreams, a cautionary symbol of how fast the Florida fantasy can turn into a financial front line.
Number 6. Lakeland. Halfway between Tampa and Orlando lies Lakeland, once branded as Florida's affordable middle ground, now caught in the crossfire of a collapsing dream. During the pandemic, Lakeland was the state's poster child for stability. It became the spillover success story, the place where middle-class families could still buy a home within reach of two major cities. But by 2025, that illusion has shattered. Prices that once peaked near $330,000 have fallen to $290,000, an 11% slide that analysts expect could deepen another 15% in the coming year. Inventory has exploded 70%, leaving more than 2,000 unsold homes sitting in silence. Houses that once sold in 3 weeks now linger for 3 months or more, as open houses draw curious visitors but few serious offers. Lakeland's median income of just $55,000 simply can't support the cost of ownership anymore. Mortgages on modest homes now exceed $2,200 a month. Add insurance, which has climbed into the $4,000 to $6,000 range, and HOA fees pushing $350 monthly, and the total easily crosses $3,500 per month. Families that once stretched to buy are now gasping to stay afloat. Developers have slammed the brakes. Construction permits are down nearly 30%, and half-finished subdivisions litter Polk County's flat horizon like abandoned promises. Investors who once paid premiums for affordable alternatives are now slashing prices by $20,000 to $50,000 just to unload properties. Even the rental market is unraveling. Rents hover near $1,800, but vacancies are climbing as tenants flee for cheaper rural towns. And as new-buy metros like Tampa and Orlando cool, Lakeland's commuter advantage, once its biggest strength, has vanished overnight. What was once Florida's steady middle ground has become the new fault line of the state's affordability crisis. A dream built on hope, now sinking under the weight of debt and disillusionment.
Number 5. Sarasota. Sarasota, the cultural heart of Florida's Gulf Coast, is running out of illusions. For years, this elegant seaside city balanced luxury and livability, a haven for retirees, snowbirds, and artists chasing coastal calm. But in 2026, that balance has shattered. Home prices have plunged from $525,000 to $455,000, a 13% drop shaking both high-end condos and suburban sprawl. Inventory has doubled to 3,800 listings, half already discounted. Downtown towers that once sold out before completion now sit half empty, their lights dark as investors vanish. Insurance has turned ownership into privilege. Annual premiums topping $12,000 and HOA fees near $800 are driving retirees to sell. For households earning $68,000, monthly costs above $5,000 are unsustainable. Once vibrant cafes, galleries, and promenades are quieting. Short-term rentals are oversaturated, occupancy below 55%, and even the icons, Siesta Key, Longboat Key, are seeing 20% price cuts and insurers pulling out. Developers have frozen projects, permits are down 40%, and cranes that once dotted the skyline now stand idle. Economists warn Sarasota's new normal may be a decade of slow decline as retirees and entrepreneurs retreat under financial strain. For decades, Sarasota was the dream, sunshine wrapped in sophistication. But in 2026, that dream feels fragile. The city that once embodied culture by the coast now stands as Florida's latest warning. Even elegance can't escape the math.
Number 4. Osceola County. Tied tightly to Orlando's orbit, Osceola County is collapsing under the same weight that fueled its rise: tourism, speculation,
and service-driven optimism. Between 2020 and 2022, it was one of Florida's hottest housing frontiers. Families and investors flooded in, drawn by Disney proximity and affordable suburban sprawl. But by 2025, that magic has vanished. Median home prices have fallen from $375,000 to $330,000, a 12% drop, with forecasts pointing to another 15% by 2026. Inventory has surged 80%, and nearly half of all listings now show steep price cuts. With a median income of just $58,000, most families are gasping for air, paying $2,400 in mortgages, $5,000 to $8,000 in insurance, and $400 in HOA dues each month. The result? Total housing costs above $3,800 per month, completely unsustainable for the local workforce. Osceola's dependence on Orlando's tourism ecosystem has turned from blessing to curse. As travel slows and service jobs evaporate, the safety net has collapsed. Airbnb owners are drowning, with occupancy rates dipping below 55%. Investors who once fought to buy are now fighting to sell. Construction tells the same story. Permits are down 40%. Developers have halted projects mid-build, and once promising family communities now sit half-finished and abandoned. Empty cul-de-sacs stretch for miles, a haunting reminder of overconfidence. Analysts warn Osceola could become Florida's next epicenter of equity loss, where rapid growth met harsh economic reality. What began as suburban prosperity has transformed into a sobering reminder that even the brightest markets can crumble when built on fragile ground.
Number 3. Cape Coral. Cape Coral, once known as the waterfront wonderland, is now drowning in its own excess and debt-fueled optimism. Home values that reached $420,000 during the boom have fallen to $360,000, a brutal 14% decline that's shaking the city's once unstoppable confidence. Inventory has ballooned 85%, leaving more than 4,000 active listings, and half the sellers have already slashed prices by $40,000 or more. For the average household earning $65,000, survival has become math-defying math. Mortgage payments exceed $2,700 a month, and insurance costs, now ranging between $8,000 and $12,000 annually, have become catastrophic. Flood coverage has tripled since 2020, turning the city's famous canal-side homes from dream retreats into financial traps. The overbuilding boom that defined the last decade has backfired spectacularly. Construction permits are down 40%, projects are being abandoned mid-build, and developers are quietly walking away. Rental occupancy has dropped below 60%, as short-term investors who once counted on endless tourism now face empty calendars and mounting losses. After Hurricane Ian, insurance companies fled or doubled premiums, leaving thousands underinsured and desperate. The waterfront views that once symbolized paradise now come with a price tag most Floridians can't afford. Analysts predict another 15 to 20% slide by 2026, which would wipe out billions in local equity. Cape Coral's story has turned poetic. A city that built its identity on water now finds itself sinking beneath the weight of overvaluation, risk, and misplaced faith in endless growth. The so-called waterfront wonderland has become Florida's costliest cautionary tale, a paradise lost to the tides of financial reality.
Number 2. St. Petersburg. Once a crown jewel of Gulf Coast glamour, St. Petersburg is now cracking from the inside out. The city that symbolized modern coastal luxury is being dragged down by the very forces that made it famous: overbuilding, overpricing, and insurance chaos. Median home prices that peaked at $450,000 now hover around $390,000, a sharp 13% decline, and the numbers are still slipping. Inventory has nearly doubled, and more than half of sellers have slashed their prices to chase hesitant buyers. With a median income of $67,000, affordability is shattered. Monthly mortgage payments average $2,800, insurance premiums sit near $8,000, and $500 HOA fees push total costs beyond $4,500 a month,
That's not sustainable for families or retirees. Tourism, the city's economic engine, has cooled dramatically. Airbnb investors who once made fortunes are bleeding losses as occupancy falls below 55%. New condo towers downtown, once sold out before breaking ground, now sit half empty. Their glossy advertisements replaced with desperate incentives like free HOA coverage or months of waived fees. Developers are nervous, and out-migration is quietly accelerating. Families and retirees are leaving for Georgia, the Carolinas, and even the Midwest in search of sanity. Meanwhile, the city's high insurance costs and storm exposure have turned off new buyers entirely. By 2026, analysts expect another 18% decline in prices, a collapse that could erase years of prosperity. For a city that once symbolized Florida's coastal promise, St. Petersburg now stands as the face of its modern housing reckoning, where sun, sand, and skyline couldn't outrun the math.
Number 1. Clearwater. At number 1, the undisputed epicenter of Florida's housing unraveling, Clearwater. This once idyllic coastal paradise has become ground zero for the state's affordability and insurance crisis. Home prices that soared to $460,000 in 2022 have tumbled to $395,000, a painful 14% drop. But the storm isn't over. Analysts warn the worst is yet to come. Inventory has surged 95%, flooding the market with over 4,500 unsold homes. More than half have been discounted, some by $80,000 or more. For the average family earning $64,000, the dream of owning in Clearwater is no longer real. Mortgage payments hover near $2,900, while insurance bills, now averaging $9,000 to $12,000 annually, have crushed budgets. Add $600 HOA fees and property taxes, and total monthly costs top $4,800. Tourism, the city's lifeblood, is fading fast. Short-term rental occupancy has fallen below 50%, forcing investors to dump beachfront condos at heavy losses. Once bustling streets near Pier 60 now feature empty storefronts and for-sale banners where souvenir shops once stood. Developers have hit the brakes. Construction permits are down 45%. And luxury towers once heralded as Clearwater's future are shelved indefinitely. Rising sea levels, flood insurance hikes, and stricter lender requirements have created the perfect financial storm. Many homeowners are trapped, unable to sell, refinance, or afford their properties. By 2026, experts warn of another 20% collapse, which would make Clearwater one of the hardest-hit housing markets in America. Once a symbol of Florida's golden coastline, Clearwater has become a cautionary landmark, a reminder that even paradise can drown when greed, risk, and nature collide.
From Clearwater's fading coastlines to Ocala's overbuilt plains, Florida's housing collapse is no longer a forecast, it's a reckoning. What began as a boom built on cheap loans, mass migration, and insurance illusions has become a statewide unraveling of confidence, affordability, and trust. The Sunshine State once promised the American dream: palm trees, ocean views, and endless growth. But today, it's the warning siren for what happens when optimism collides with arithmetic. Mortgage rates stayed high, insurers fled, and families realized that affordable paradise was just a myth dressed in sunshine. Developers have gone silent. Construction cranes stand frozen. The same headlines that once read, "Florida's unstoppable housing market," now whisper, "Florida's fragile reality." Every empty condo tower, every for-sale sign baking in the sun tells the same story. A market that flew too close to the heat and melted under its own success. But this story doesn't end at Florida. The same forces, inflation, climate risk, investor panic, and shattered affordability are spreading to other corners of America: Texas, Arizona, the Carolinas, even California's coast. The next chapter of this crisis is already being written, one city at a time. Florida's fall isn't just about housing. It's about how fragile the modern American dream has become. The sunshine still shines, but behind it lies debt, risk, and denial. This is Discover the Nation, where data meets drama and America's hidden truths come to light. If you want to stay ahead of what's coming next, the cracks forming in other markets, the cities on the edge of the next collapse, hit subscribe and join us for the journey, because what's happening in Florida today may be the future of the nation tomorrow.